Okay, well now I get my chance to fire away. So in episode 12 of Fire Away, I had Ryan Paquette with me. We had a great discussion. Ryan Duquette on the show talking about cybersecurity. And people who know me know that I'm a bit of a techie and I love the latest technology. But what I've been saying for years now is that technology is a wonderful thing. It allows us to do our work more efficiently, more conveniently, but it also gives employees more newer and more interesting ways to get themselves into trouble, which is frankly great for guys like me because I get to deal with the fallout and it keeps us busy. But it's amazing how both individuals and corporations just don't seem to fully take account the risks that technology brings. So my pet peeve I want to talk about today is people underestimating technological risks and how they can impact your interests, whether you're employer or employee. And I've been saying that, as I said, for almost my entire career, which, as I was reminded recently, come this February, I'll be 20 years at the bar. So 20 years, most of which has been practicing employment law, both for employers and employees. So I've seen both sides. But back when I first started making those comments, there were no iPhones, there were no iPads, laptops were heavier than the desk I'm sitting at right now. And things have changed dramatically since then. Now everything is cloud-based. And if I pick up my phone right here, I can access every single file in this firm, every document in this firm on my phone. Things have changed. What hasn't changed is that people are still finding new ways to get into trouble, and they're not taking into account all of the risks that you have when it comes to technology. And what am I talking about? From an individual perspective, people don't seem to understand that if your employer gives you a laptop, a tablet, or a phone, they can see what you're doing. They can review your Google searches. They can check your email, even if it's your personal email. So people say, well, I'm not dumb enough to, send personal things on my company email address. Okay, but you're sending it from your Gmail on your company phone. They can see that. Or I've had people explain to me that, no, don't worry, I deleted the email as soon as I read it. So they'll never be able to see it. It's gone now. Or they can't really see text messages, right? They can't. And there are great cases. There was one going back probably 6 or 7 years ago now where people who left one financial institution, went to another one, basically tried to take their entire book of business. And all the evidence was in BlackBerry Messenger. And they were convinced that BlackBerry Messenger could not be searched and there would be no record of it. And of course, that case went to trial, to appeal, to Supreme Court, and all that evidence came back to haunt them. Believe it or not, we still have people who retain our firm because they want to get legal advice about a potential claim against their employer, and they are emailing us from their company email address. And when we call them on it, because I assume maybe it's just they didn't turn their minds to it, we'll call them. We don't respond by email. We call them and say, we can't correspond with you on your company email address. Your employer can see all of this. And you'd be amazed how often we still get pushback. And we're told, don't worry, they'll never look at it. It's fine. And we have to essentially cover our own behinds by writing them emails saying we cannot guarantee confidentiality if you're going to do that. People just underestimate the risks. They also underestimate the risks of throwing out old equipment. In episode 12 of Fire Away, Ryan and I discussed, what you do with old laptops, phones, tablets, etc., and the need to wipe them clean before you either give them to someone, sell them to someone, or put them out with the trash. Otherwise, anybody can go and take them and discover all of not only your personal information, but if you had company information on there, you are basically disclosing all of your corporate information to the detriment of your employer. So you need to be aware of that. People also still amaze me by the fact that they will go online, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or whatever it may be, and post things and assume it will never get back to their employer. And often the explanation I'm given is, well, I know that my boss, I would never be friends with my boss on Facebook, so they can't see my posts. Guess what? When employers call us and they say, look, we just found out that so-and-so was on a ski vacation last week when they claimed to be sick. Well, how did you find out? Here's the Facebook post. And when we ask them how they got the Facebook post, inevitably, it's somebody else at the company that was friends with them, saw the post, brought it to HR. So don't assume that anything you post online is not going to get back to your employer just because you're not friends or connections with them. So that's some of the things we see employees doing. From the employer perspective, we still see companies giving out devices, primarily smartphones, like candy. without taking the time to put in place proper policies, proper procedures. And again, in episode 12 of Fire Away, Ryan and I discussed what the things are that you should be doing in order to protect your corporate information and make sure everyone knows, A, what the rules are, and B, that you as a company or as an organization have the ability to control the data, wipe the data, etc. We also see employers who give out, or maybe they don't give out devices, maybe they're corporate devices, but they're not actually tracking what individuals are doing. They're not making any effort to make sure that people are not either copying company information, disclosing it, or sending it to themselves by Gmail, which I still see quite often. Or when the company becomes aware of some potential disclosure, they think someone might be stealing information, copying information, et cetera. They go in and they do an amateur investigation. And when they do that, they basically destroy all the evidence. So when they finally get to me, I have to say, look, we can try to deal with this, but the reality is we can't go to court because you went in, rather than hiring a professional, you went in, you gathered all this data, and basically what you did was you destroyed the evidence, so we can't use it. So if you suspect that one of your employees is disclosing confidential information or doing anything else that would otherwise compromise your interests, first of all, contact your employment lawyer, but also contact an IT professional, someone who is an expert in cybersecurity. Don't try to do it yourself. Technology pervades pretty much every aspect of our lives, including work. As an employer, you can't bury your heads in the sand or try to do things cheap. I've seen companies who try to save $5,000 cost themselves $500,000 because they lost data, they lost customers. As an individual, you wouldn't make or leave copies of your confidential information in the kitchen at work. So why would you put it on your work server? These are all the things you need to think about. Ultimately, these things end up on our desks when things go wrong, but it's amazing how people just continuously underestimate the risks technology brings. So that's really my rant for today. And what I want to say is give it some thought and don't just either try to avoid costs or be lazy. Realize what you might be doing as far as your own confidential information or your company's confidential information, and realize that if you don't want other people to see it, you need to lock it down properly. So that's my 2 cents worth, and you got it here for free today.